we as the Council of Governors will indeed go to court on Monday.
Tukianza hivyo kila siku mambo county assembly watakuwa wanaangalia governor anafanya nini, governor tumtoe.
Will stop the senators. Governor's Council digs in over Wambora's impeachment.
We had agreed clearly that the governor will come from Embu community, the senator would come from the Mbere community, so as to foster the unity of that county.
First female governor ready for takeoff, but Embu leaders say slow down. Kiamba Church burning victim paralyzed by trauma and disease 5 years later. Also in KTN Weekend Prime tonight, Sofapaka pumps in 5 goals as top fry Nakuru get baptism by fire.
KTN Weekend Prime with Yvonne Okwara.
A very good evening to you. Many thanks for joining us on KTN Weekend Prime this Saturday, the 15th day of February 2014, the day after Valentine's. No love between governors and senators, and we'll be telling you all about that. But before we get to that, a quick reminder that Job Center is back today. And if you are in the banking sector and you're looking for work in that particular field, Gulf Bank today has some offers, and we'll be telling you all about that on KTN's Job Center. So do stick around. Najma Ismail will have the details for you. You can get in touch with us on Twitter at KTN Job Center. Same for Facebook. That's KTN Job Center. But before we get to that, let's get to that big story of the day today. And just to show you what's coming up in your standard on Sunday, that is tomorrow. Like we said, no love between the governors and the senators. Take a look at this that's coming up tomorrow. If you thought it's just about Wambora, well, 9 more governors are also set to be summoned by the senator over alleged misuse of funds. This is the headline you'll be waking up to tomorrow. Who are they? Isaac Ruto, Ken Lusaka, William Kabogo, Julius Malombe, Jack Rangumba, Kinuthi Ambugwa, Samuel Tunai, Hussein Dado, and Ahmed Abdullahi, all of them set to be summoned between February the 19th and the 26th. That is the last part of this month. What are the governors saying? Will they attend this? And what are the senators saying about the governors? Should they choose not to attend those summons that have been made by the Senate? This is the headline you'll be waking up to tomorrow. You do not want to miss your standard on Sunday, so get a copy. But in line with that, let's get to our first story tonight. The Council of Governors is now preparing a rebuttal to save former Embu Governor Martin Wambora after his impeachment. Now, the council heads to the Supreme Court for a judicial redress, accusing the Senate of plotting a coup in 11 more counties. The Senate, meanwhile, asserted its authority as the superior devolution organ, warning governors to toe the line. Samuel Ginner begins our Saturday night bulletin with reactions from yesterday's historic impeachment of the Embu governor.
After according the governor of Embu County an opportunity to be heard, as a result, to impeach the governor of Embu County.
It was a near unanimous Senate decision to impeach the Embu governor Martin Wambora. The whole Senate, save for 2, endorsing the removal of the governor with 39 votes.
Embu County delegation on consultation abstains.
Embu Senator Lenny Kivuti abstained, and Baringo Senator Gideon Moi rejected the axing plot.
After heavy consultations and a very heavy heart, Baringo County votes no for A, no for B, and no for C.
But in so approving the impeachment motion, the Senate was sending a crystal clear message to the county chiefs on who's boss on devolution matters.
Mbio za sakafuni mishia ukingoni na ni huu wamejua mkubwa ni nani sasa.
The impeachment marking a turning point in the antagonism between the two institutions. The Governor's Council now prepares to move to the Supreme Court Monday for a redress to quash the Senate's decision, which it describes as pedestrian.
It will turn our assemblies into lynch mobs. It will create a situation in which even deputy governors want to become governors, and they will then instigate problems for the governors. This is definitely going to destabilize devolution.
Si demokrasia. Kwa sababu tukianza hivyo, kila siku mambo county assembly watakuwa wanaangalia governor anafanya nini, governor tumtoe.
Senate and governors have been embroiled in unending power struggles despite both being devolution merchants. Twice the governors have failed to honor summons to appear before the Senate, saying they were busy. The Senate has also declared illegal taxes counties were to levy and stripped governors the title His Excellency, deepening the frosty relations.
I think what happened in Embu is an early warning system. An early warning system in the fact that we have a tremendous malaise that we are reluctant to talk about, but which we must be conscious of. Kiona cha mwenzio chanyolewa chako tia maji. Kwa sababu walikataa kusikia la mkuu, sisi masenata tukiwaambia hawasikii, wakatudharau, hawataki kusikia husia wetu, basi majuto ni mjukuu.
It is a serious threat to the rule of law. It is a serious threat to devolved systems of government. And I want to appeal to Kenyans to protect counties. It's no longer possible to wait for the Senate to protect counties. It is now clear that they are determined.
The Senate holds governors have devolved the counsel of corruption to the counties and ought to be checked.
It's happening all over the country. All counties are facing this particular problem. Turkana was the first one. But this house downplayed the impunity the governor of Turkana brought. Wakajitosa kwa ulimwengu wa nasa, magari makubwa, maaskari wafuatilia na magari mengi, bendera ya kupepea.
The governors now claim there are forces driving the Senate to frustrate devolution. The council chair alleges a plot of 11 more county governors earmarked for a purge.
The ills and the challenges that counties are facing are not even unique to counties. The national government loses billions of shillings every year, and no one is being held accountable.
While the two institutions tussle over the Senate's oversight role and governors' executive powers, the functionalities of the counties remains at stake. Samugina, KTN.
And now a cloud of uncertainty has descended on the people of Embu following the decision by the Senate to send Martin Wambora home. KTN toured Embu County and spoke to its residents who have mixed reactions over the recent development. Carol Derry has that report.
Embu County has been in the spotlight recently, and yesterday's decision of the Senate to send Wambora packing has left the county in uncertainty over its leadership.
Hisia zako ni zipi kuhusiana na kile ambacho kimejiri hapa Embu?
Nimesikia kwamba Wambora amesimamishwa kazi kwa sababu ya corruption, na mimi ninasema ya kwamba hata deputy wake ashikilie muda kidogo kama miezi moja ama miezi tatu ama miezi mbili ndio tuchaguane tena. Manake hatuwezi kusimamiwa na deputy na hakuchaguliwa na sisi raia.
Haikuwa fair. You know what the senators did? Walikuwa taka kuprovia the governors that wao ndio mabosses. Hata ukiangalia venye walikuwa wanasema hizo yes zao haikufurahisha.
Others were of the view that every individual should carry his own cross and Wambora ought to take responsibility for his actions.
Sitasema nimekasirika kwa sababu ikiwa kuna kosa najua makosa ni kosa.
Nimefurahishwa sana na ile uamuzi wa Senate kwa sababu ni uamuzi ambao ulikuwa very impartial, kwa sababu niliona wao kipiga kura, kila mtu alikuwa anapiga kura akifuatilia ile mambo ambayo inastahili.
42-year-old Dorothy Nditi Mushongo is now the Embu governor. Being at the helm of this county will not be an easy task for her, especially with the scrutiny that is likely to follow, but she says she is equal to the task. Some residents, though, are not particularly happy about her taking over.
The governor amefanya makosa. We expected also the deputy governor to share the responsibility, political and the functions of the governor. Waende wote pamoja.
Residents here will be waiting to see the developments here in the next few days as they come to terms with the dismissal of a governor who has been in office for less than a year. There is a mood of uncertainty here in Embu County, with some expressing displeasure at the turn of events, while some say at least there is no power vacuum. But what is of significance to them is for this county to flourish and prosper. Carol Nderi for KTN in Embu County.
So even as Dorothy Nditi prepares to take office as governor, a complication in the ethnic balance of power in Embu County has just cropped up. A section of leaders from the county have reminded Dorothy that the seat of the governor of Embu should be held by a person from the Embu community, according to a pre-election agreement. The leaders are now putting pressure on Nditi to turn down the elevation to the governor's office so that the seat can go to the right person to ensure the communities there continue to share power as earlier agreed.
The leadership of Embu County, we had even sat, leaders from the Embu community and Bere community, we sat before the last elections. And it was decided and it came to pass that we should have governor from Embu community and senator from Bere community. I strongly believe that is a very unifying factor in the leadership of Embu. So even as we speak, even as the law may be the way it is, I would like to see a governor of Embu coming from the Embu community.
Dorothy is supposed to take over as the governor of Embu County. And that brings in a very critical issue, that of the fragile unity of the Embu and Bere communities. Because as it is, the Embu community is left without any of the top seats in the county.
Right, now let's put those matters aside for a moment and take a look at an important issue for the residents of Nairobi. Most estates here in the capital have in the recent past experienced consistent water and electricity shortage, even with much talk about making Nairobi a 24-hour city and more conducive for investment. But despite the shortage, residents say they are still receiving utility bills from water and power companies. Is Nairobi life on an upward or downward scale? Catherine Amondo went round the city estates to see for herself how this perennial water and electricity scarcity is affecting residents.
Masitsa Ambaya sticks to the Saturday afternoon routine. She needs at least a week's supply of water for her family.
I think I'd say when I was small. That's the last time I think I remember seeing, particularly in our house, water coming from the taps.
Her house, just like everyone else's at high-rise estate, is full of jerry cans. Even the smallest container will do the job of storing enough water for her household's needs. She gets her water supply from Mary Auma, a water vendor.
Siku yenye maji hakuna high-rise, tunauza maji shilingi 30. Na kama hakuna kabisa, tunaingia huko ndani kibila huko chini kabisa, tunauza maji 40 au 50 kwa mtungi moja kama hii jerrycan.
Masitsa's water meter no longer serves its purpose. She says that despite not having water flow through her taps, the Nairobi Water and Sewage Company continues to bill her for their apparent services.
Bills of water that have come, like for example, we had a meter and there was no water that was coming through. But at the end of the month, we received a bill which didn't make sense because we weren't getting water.
Umoja is another estate experiencing the same situation.
Shida ya maji imekuwa kwa muda mrefu hapa, tumekuwa tukiuza maji kuanzia tangu 2008. Kama mimi nimeanza kuuza maji tangu 2008, maji ndio nilianza hii kazi ya maji. Sasa ni almost 6 years to 7 years.
Nairobi Water is the single supplier of water to homes, same as the Kenya Power and Lighting Company, which is constantly accused of laxity. One does not need to look far. On the KPLC official Twitter handle, there are complaints of interrupted power supply from all corners of Nairobi County and even beyond. The amount of complaints seem to increase during the rainy seasons. If the two companies mandated to supply homes with crucial commodities like water and electricity cannot find a solution to the perennial water and power supply shortage, perhaps it's time the two had competitors to keep them on their toes. Catherine Omwanto, KTN.
Some important questions there being raised by Catherine. Thank you very much for that report. Now, Jigger infestation is said to be a socio-economic problem, poverty being one of the factors influencing the spread of the infestation. Wangoi Wakimunya, a victim of the 2007 post-election violence, found herself in poverty after she lost all her property in the violence, a state that has caused her to have the battle with jiggers. And as Mercy Kandia now reports, she can breathe easy for now as she gets medication, but her troubles are far from over.
She was the face associated with the Kiambaa church burning at the height of the post-election violence. 68-year-old Wangoi Wakimunya lost all her property. Her troubles, however, did not end with the culmination of the violence at Kiambaa village in the North Rift. She is now in a mentally unstable state. Her son says it all started after the violence.
Hasa siwezi kutembea na hii, kutembea na mguu ngumu. Ngumu. Na mikono inajaa, dudu inakaa.
For 5 months now, Wangoi has been battling with jiggers.
Tangu siku ya kanisa akaanza kugonjeka, kabidi tumpeleke hospitali akaenda kuangaliwa, amelala huko miezi 3.
It is a village that witnessed it all, being forced to start afresh after the violence. The Ministry of Special Programs and non-governmental organizations built the mud houses they live in. When a neighbor is in need, they try and help wherever they can.
Juu ameenda mpaka amekuwa ni kama mzigo. Juu wakati anakuja kwako hauna ile uwezo ya kumsaidia juu ya hizo vitu. Juu hata tukisema ni kutoa, haiwezi toa juu ni mingi na kumtoa ni kumuumiza.
One peaceful election later, and many here strive to make ends meet. Today, Wangoi gets visitors from Ahadi, Kenya. She gets medication for her Jigger condition. Her son is taught how to administer the medication.
Jigger problem is a social economic related problem. Yes, it's that, but it's also because of poverty in the society that we have jiggers, and it's also a wake-up call to the county government, because as long as we have jigger-affected people in our counties or in our communities, the whole Vision 2030, the whole county development is at a risk.
It is important that Wangoi heals fast. The jiggers on her feet make her immobile. One night when her only son, Kimunya, was out to look for food, someone broke into the house and raped Wangoi, an ordeal that Kimunya says limits his movement in the village. He has to be around to look after his disturbed mother.
Hakuna mimi ndio huwa nategemea niende vibarua, kipata kitu anapata kitu ya kula, lakini hakuna usaidizi mwingine yote yenye nimeipata.
Today is refreshing for Wangoi, whose past few years have been rough, even as victims of violence still seek justice for the atrocities committed. Her 22-year-old son has now taken the role of parent. His hope is that the elderly fund will be dispensed to his aging mother soon. Over 6 years after the post-election violence, some victims like Wangoi Wakimunya are yet to get compensation from the government or any form of help. Today's help for her Jigger problem is just some small light in her dark tunnel. Mercy Kandia, KTN, Kiambaa Village, Uasin Gishu County.
Cabinet Secretary for Defense Rachel Omamo has assured Ministers of Defense and Security of the East African region of Kenya's commitment to the full operationalization of the Eastern Africa Standby Force. Omamo said the force would play an important role in ensuring peace and stability when deployed to areas experiencing political and social upheavals, including threats by terrorists. And as our senior reporter Patrick Amimo reports, the government today donated 86 million shillings to the African Peace Fund for the strengthening of the African Standby Force.
Ministers of Defense and Security and Chiefs of Defense staff from 10 member states of the Eastern Africa region converged at the International Peace Support Training Center in Karen, Nairobi to strategize on peace and security. Countries in the region have over the years experienced political and social instability that has often resulted in death, destruction of property, and disruption of peaceful coexistence. For instance, the African Union has okayed deployment of troops from the Eastern Africa region to Somalia to root out Al-Shabaab militia and ensure peace and stability. Troops from member states have been holding field training exercises and command post exercises to test readiness.
Any threat to human peace and security is a major impediment to economic and social development. Recent challenges to peace in South Sudan and the threat to security posed by terrorist groups such as Al-Shabaab attest to this.
At State House, Nairobi, President Uhuru Kenyatta donated 86 million shillings to the Africa Peace Fund for the strengthening of the African Standby Force. Participants here are keen to ensure African states develop military capacity of dealing with conflicts internally and stop over-reliance on foreign interventions.
Africa cannot wait for 2015 without taking military action in event of crisis. AMISOM today is the flagship mission of the Africa Union, and indeed with the recent enhancement of the troop levels, it is one of the largest missions in the world. We look forward to your contribution to AMISOM next military operation, which we expect to begin in earnest in the next few weeks.
It is our expectation that Eastern Africa Standby Force will be at par with other standby forces.
ESF demonstrated that it is capable of deploying a multinational force consisting of pledged units from the member countries. That is exactly what a standby force should be able to do.
Recently, the US government called on the Ugandan government to withdraw its troops from South Sudan after IGAD approved deployment of 5,500 troops to maintain peace. Uganda's Chief of Defense, General Katumba Wamala, says though Ugandan troops are in South Sudan on invitation from President Salva Kiir, they have not taken sides in the conflict.
Why should the island of peace, which has been created now, where we see Juba coming back in shape, where we see even the government getting back to function, why should that island of peace give somebody sleepless nights in a capital far away miles from Juba? Why don't they take the opinion and ask the South Sudanese themselves what they see and what they want?
The Eastern Africa Standby Force is expected to be operational by mid-next year. It is a homegrown strategy to monitor, prevent, and resolve conflicts in the region. Patrick Amimo, KTN, Nairobi.
And you're watching KTN Weekend Prime this Saturday, the 15th day of February 2014. We want to take a short break right now. We'll be back with more, so please stay with us. Connecting job seekers with the realities of the job market on KTN's Job Center.
My point is not to disobey court orders. In fact, I have the utmost respect for the judiciary. Utmost respect. But I also demand reasonableness. Legislative processes are not a function or in the domain of the judiciary. It is exclusive domain of the houses of parliament at the national level and the county assemblies at the devolved level.
You are watching KTN Weekend Prime.
Welcome back. You're watching KTN Weekend Prime. And of course, our top story tonight is on what's happening in Embu County, the impeachment of the now former Governor Wambora, and of course, Dorothy Nditi, his deputy, set to take over amidst some complications regarding ethnic balancing power in Embu County. And we have that clip for you because tonight, Dorothy Nditi, who's set to take over governorship of the Embu County, has spoken out. She says people should not panic over the situation in Embu County. The legal process will take its course. She's also trying to clear her name. Let's listen into what she had to say earlier this evening. Take a look.
This being a legal process, I want to urge everybody to stay calm Nothing is lost. We are still one people. I am under a lot of pressure to do certain things, but I think for me, the most important thing and the reason why I fought really hard was because I needed to clear my name. Corruption is not a tag that anybody wants in this country.
That was Dorothy Nditi, who said to take over control of Embu County, talking about the situation as it is now, saying she's under pressure, but that she's also fighting to clear her name. And of course, the situation in Embu County continues as we wait to see what happens on Monday. So who else is in the firing line now? From Bungoma, Governor Ken Lusaka has been summoned to appear before the Senate on Wednesday next week at 10 a.m. On the same day, the Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto, who's also the chair of the Governor's Council, has to appear before the senators at midday. On Thursday, the 20th of February, 2 more governors will be before the Senate. At 10 a.m., it will be the turn of Kiambu Governor William Kabogo. At midday on that day, it will be Kitui Governor Julius Malombe's turn to take the hot seat before the protectors of the counties. On Monday, the 24th of February at 10 a.m., Kisumu Governor Jack Ranguma has a date with the Senate. Same day at 12 p.m., it's Nakuru Governor Kinuthia Mbugwa's turn to show up and present his case. Now, on the next day, that's Tuesday, the 25th of February, the first to appear will be Narok Governor Samuel Tunai at 10 in the morning. Still on Tuesday, the 25th, another governor, Tana River Governor Hussein Dado at 12 p.m. has to show up for grilling. When it goes on, Wednesday, the 26th of February, it will be the turn of Wajir County Governor Ahmed Abdullahi, who will have his turn before the senators at 10 that morning. Now, the governors have vowed to disobey the order, saying they will instead move to court to challenge the powers of the senators. The Senate, on the other hand, has warned of dire consequences should the governors choose not to appear. This is the story that you will be waking up to tomorrow in the Sunday Standard, so do make sure you get a copy of that. It'll have all the details regarding these latest events taking place between the Senate and the governors. Let's now go to our weekly segment, that is Job Center. Tonight, we're taking a look at the many graduates from college or universities who are joining the job market every year. Close to 16 million Kenyans have no formal employment. The streets of major urban centers around the country are flooded with job-thirsty young men and women who have high expectations of landing jobs. But what they do not know is job hunting is not an easy task. And that's what 26-year-old Augustine Washira is experiencing firsthand. Here is his story as told by Najma Ismail.
There's no way of telling that this young farmer holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in communications. Donned in his overall and boots, 26-year-old Augustine Washira graduated from St. Paul's University in 2010. For the past few years, he has been searching for a job in his field of study, but has never been lucky.
I got a job at a company called Next Generation Broadcasting Limited. They used to deal with smart decoders. So I was a direct sales agent. Prior to that, I had already done 2 internships, one at the Ministry of Finance and the other one at the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology, where at the Ministry of Finance I worked at the Registry Department and at the Human Resources Department.
4 years down the line, and Augustine still hasn't secured a stable job. He decided to work at his parents' firm and supervise the other workers. He, however, says that most of the casuals never show up on a daily basis, forcing him to do most of the work alone. Unlike many 26-year-olds, Augustine's day starts at around 4:45 a.m. He first milks the cows and then delivers to several places. He then comes back home and gets ready to go to the shamba. Under the scorching sun, the young graduate, sometimes under his mother's supervision, cuts the napier grass, piles them up, and then takes them home. The heat at this point is unbearable, and the nearby sugarcane serves as refreshment. Work awaits. Here, Augustine prepares the silage by cutting the napier grass collected earlier into small pieces. What follows is preparing the molasses, which he pours onto the napier. The farming business is a very lucrative business, and I asked Augustine why he has his eyes set on a white-collar job.
For me, it's not giving up farming per se. For me, it's all about complementing the whole project, because the money is not enough. Right now, it's not my farm. I don't feel the sense of ownership.
Not securing a job has taken a toll on Augustine, given that many of his age mates already have jobs and he spends most of his day at his parents' farm.
Sometimes I feel as if the world is unfair, so to say.
Job Center cheered Augustine up by taking him away from the farm for a day and into the corporate world. We took him to the Gina Dean Group, where Cedric Lumati, who is the PR director, showed him what goes on in a communications company.
We manage client communications, and client needs are different. To the next station.
So I wanted to know, apart from a sound academic background, what other skills does it require for someone who's seeking for a job at a PR company such as this?
I think academic skills are just one of the things that we look at when we want to recruit people within various departments in the agency. But then we also want proven drive from that individual that they really want to do it. Because it's one thing having academic papers, it's another thing altogether practicing that.
Najma Ismail, KTN Job Center.
So on my big break tonight, we feature a lady who was once a business journalist right here at KTN, but later left to pursue her dream of becoming self-employed. Self-proclaimed PR guru Cynthia Nyamai tells us that the big break is not just hers alone, but for Kenyan women at large.
Cynthia Nyamai is a businesswoman, a business leader, a communications guru. I started my business a few years ago. I saw a gap in the market, and I was able to sharpen my skills when I was working with KTN as an anchor, business anchor, and also a business reporter. I was able to sharpen my communication skills, understand what the market is looking for, and especially working as a business journalist. I was able to every day meet business leaders, CEOs, learn a lot from them. I'd ask them questions. Sometimes I'd even ask questions more for myself. When I was joining KTN, I remember I wrote in my CV, and when I did my interview, I told them I want to be the best journalist in Africa. So I won an award, the Diageo Business Award, as the best upcoming journalist in Africa. So I knew, yes, I'm now the best. Now it's time for me to grow and start my own business. I think the big break is not actually just for Kenyans. I mean, just for Cynthia only. It's for Kenyans. And we've had the government talk about doing business with women and the youth 30%. And that is billions of Kenya shillings. And I'm doing a lot of work with government. And that would have happened a few years ago.
Right now, it's time to celebrate our Employee of the Week, and today they have several vacancies to offer job seekers out there. So listen up now. Gulf African Bank, which opened its doors in the country in 2008, is looking for customer service officers, product development, Sharia compliance officers, and tellers. Swale Sharif, who is the Human Resource Director, says the deadline to submit your applications is in 2 months.
Revised Employment Act of Kenya, which totally prohibits discrimination of any kind. In fact, our strength we believe is in diversity. We have a lot of non-Muslims who work with us, and we continue to employ more non-Muslims. We are looking for degree, first degree, for entry position, and for middle and senior level, we are looking for up to master's degree.
Right, so for more information on how to make your application, deadline is in 2 months' time. Please do send us a tweet at KTN Job Center. You can also send us an email, ktnjobcenter@standardmedia.co.ke, and we will give you the necessary details, just how to make that application. That is our Employer of the Week, giving you some opportunities to do that. So if you're in the banking sector, like you heard him say, they're looking for just about anyone. You do not have to be a Muslim to apply, all right? Good luck with that. Do let us know how it goes. Want to take a short break right now? We'll be back, and here's what you can expect after this short break. Welcome back. Now, residents of Wajir town met to mark 30 years of what the United Nations recognizes as the worst acts of human rights violation in Kenyan history. KTN's Ian Wafula visited some of the victims of the Wagalla Massacre who recounted their unfortunate encounter.
"493 kilometers northeast of Nairobi is Wajir town, the home of the beasts of burden. Probably the only mammals comfortable in dry and cold deserts. The locals are quite welcoming, and they believe that they are Kenya's neighboring country. But a deep look into the eyes of some of them, you see misery, suffering, and pain that runs deep. Our guide Salat takes us to the backbone of Wajir's troubles. 30 kilometers, the harsh terrain can only be handled by the toughest of vehicles. 30 minutes later at our destination, we are met by hundreds of livestock trekking across bare tracts of what was once an airstrip. On these grounds, 30 years ago, security officers under orders from unknown persons rounded up all the men in Wajir town, brought them here at this local airstrip and shot them in cold blood. Those who survived later died due to the temperatures and hunger. The very, very lucky ones, like 50-year-old Omar Mohammed, who was 20 years then, survived. The only thing that kept him alive was urine.
Kila mtu anamwambia kojolea hapa kwa mkono, alafu anakunywa mkojo ya watu. Kila mtu anakojolea ule mwingine na kunywa.
But this was after hours of torture from the security officers.
Kwa haraka, kwa sababu mimi nilisema mara ya mwisho nilijua ya kwamba mtu kuweka kwa jua na asiondoke. Ile mchanga yenyewe inachoma watu. Jua kama hii sasa, watu nalala. Na ukianza kusinzia kidogo unapigwa.
And like most of the others, Omar was lucky that his captors did not beat him up to his impotence. And he was able to bear 8 children, but even so, his health has since been wanting, making him unable to play the father figure that he had dreamed of. We leave him enjoying his bites of his daily dose of Mira. A few kilometers away, we meet Nur Hassan. He had just walked for a whole day to bring his livestock to the well. He cannot speak Swahili, and so our guide Salat intervenes.
ماشي حق كوانجل أنا ما جن لكن بعدين أنك مالي لا أنا سو أروري لو عيل كان أنكشبه عدت كحق الرصاص عيلوفر.
The following morning, all the households are left empty, streets deserted, and all roads lead to the town center. Hundreds of mothers, children, grandmothers, grandfathers, generations of victims of the Wagalla Massacre assembled with signs of their outcry. And after prayers, they are ready to listen to their leaders.
That you have the ear of your elected leaders in the National Assembly. We trust that they have heard. I think one of the questions that we must continue to ask ourselves as Kenyans is what we intend to do with the truth.
It is a dark part of our history as a country, as a county, and as a people. And I want to urge Parliament, I want to urge the government at national level not to mutilate the TJRC report. The very purpose of setting up TJRC was to heal this nation.
A monument marking 30 years since the unfortunate incident is unveiled, bearing 480 names of the over 3,000 traceable victims. Some of the locals still curious whether their next of kin's names were captured. Even after the Wagalla Massacre monument has been unveiled, residents continue to hope that justice will be served and that the persons behind the killings will face the consequences of their actions. Ian Wafula, KTN.
Now, the Marsabit Conflict Mediating Committee, led by Francis Ole Kaparo and Yusuf Haji, has finalized its deliberations and is in the process of drafting its recommendations, which will be handed to the President for implementation. The Marsabit killings, which took place last year, revolved around land and settlement issues, political representation and allocation of resources in the region. Addressing members of the press in Nairobi, the team says it is only through consultations and negotiations that the border conflict between border communities and clans in the region will be eradicated.
The national government should enhance security and declare the Marsabit conflict a national disaster. Negotiations and consultation on resource allocation have commenced and shall be embraced by all leaders with a view to find means and ways of equitable distribution of resources, whether financial or human. Reconstruction and resettlement of the displaced shall take precedence in all the affected areas, and the county government shall closely work with other organizations to facilitate this process.
I want to take another short break right now. When we come back, it's the sports news, and we'll be telling you about that thumping of Muhoroni youth by Sofapaka. All of that and much more coming up after this break. Wajir town remembers the atrocities of the Wagalla Massacre. Why Kilifi elders are demanding government protection.
You are watching KTN Weekend Prime.
Right, let's start off with the World Cross Country Championships. It's taking a break this year to pave way for the Continental Cross Country Championships. Now, many elite athletes snubbed the 2014 edition of the National Cross Country Championships come trials for the Africa Cross Country that was held today at the Uhuru Gardens. World Cross Country Junior Champion Faith Chepngetich and All-African Games silver medalist Bedan Karoki emerged the new national champions after winning the 8 kilometers and 12 kilometer races respectively.
It has for a long time been referred to as the toughest event in the world despite being just a national championship. However, the 21st edition of the National Cross Country Championships attracted just a sizable number of participants as well as spectators, with most of the cross country bigwigs missing from the starting lineups.
In the world of athletics,
it was was a senior women's 8 kilometers race, however, that provided spectators with a much-needed adrenaline rush. The race brought together cross-country heavyweights. The reigning cross-country champion Emily Chebet, former two-time junior world champion Mercy Cherono, and reigning junior champion Faith Chemngetich, who was making her first appearance in the senior category, went up against each other. But Chemngetich showed no respect for her seniors when she ran away from the field with 60 meters to go to win the race in 26 minutes, 9.7 seconds. Chebet finished third behind Kenya Prison's Paris Chepchirchir. Mercy Cherono finished a distant 10th but was happy with her performance.
Ni cross country yangu ya senior kuwin. Sijawahi win senior na hii ni my first race hapa kukimbia senior.
I'm so happy with the position I've gotten, and I see my training is going on well because of my achievement.
The men's 12 kilometers race lacked the flair it always generates during World Championships trials. All eyes were on Bidan Karoki and former world cross-country champion Joseph Ebuya. That left Japan-based Bidan Karoki to rule the field, and in true star style, he chested the tape in 34 minutes, 55.2 seconds. Leonard Barasoton was second. Karoki will, however, not be in the plane to Kampala for the Africa Championships.
Sana nilikuwa najitayarisha kama endurance training ya Commonwealth. Juu ukifanya cross country ni inakuwa building mzuri.
The 24-member squad for the third Africa Cross Country Championships in Kampala next month will next week start residential training in Ngong under the stewardship of coach David Letting. The 2014 edition of the National Cross Country Championships lacked the normal pomp and color in terms of participation as well as the spectators. However, the competition remained classy. Lynn Washira, KTN.
Some rugby news now. Kenya Cup leaders Top Fry and Nakuru succumbed to their first defeat of the season. Wambora tore them 30-20 at the Nairobi University grounds in a match that Shaban Ahmed contributed to Wambora's rare victory.
As expected, the clash was to be an entertaining one. Top Fry had not lost so far this season, and Wambora looking not only to capture the headlines, but to finish the regular season on a high. Poor passing from the defending champions was all that the Nairobi-based side needed. Shaban Ahmed utilized Nakuru loopholes to get the first try. Kasifa Brian converted to give his team a momentary lead that was countered well by a well-calculated try from the Wanyore to put the scoreline 7-5 at halftime. Wambora started the second half where they had left, and again a disjointed play by Wanyore gifted Shaban another moment to shine, and he did not disappoint. Wanyore were quick to respond in what was almost turning to be a seesaw encounter. Brian Kavasia missed a penalty to add his side's tally, but individual brilliance from Orio Jose and Alan Limo saw Wambora clinched a 30-20 victory. In other matches, Impala had their way past Western Bulls in a 35-16 victory. Homeboys cruised 31-5 past Mean Machine, while Queen registered a 54-5 victory over Kenyatta University's Black Blood. Moses Wahesi, KTN Sports.
Right, now we want to conclude our bulletin tonight with what Kaya elders in Kilifi County are saying. They're saying they've had enough and will not stand more debts. The elders who staged demonstrations in the area are calling on the government to protect them from heinous murders carried out against them on suspicion of practicing witchcraft.
The demonstrations were peaceful but with a strong message. The Kaya elders, who have now decided not to take things lying down, teamed up to demand for the killing of their members to stop.
Kajana tulikuwa tuna wazee ambao hawapungui kama wazee 72 wakiwa hao wamemalizika mwaka jana. Na mwaka huu tayari karibu wazee 26 wameaga dunia, ikiwa sasa ni mwezi huu tu wa pili. Hili ni jambo la kusononesha sana, ni jambo la kuudhi.
Led by the coordinator of Kaya Godama, Mzee Sanze Mangi, they marched from Kaya Mirima Wandege in Vitengeni, where several Kaya elders are seeking refuge. The elders said they fear living in their homes.
Chukua hatua ya dharura ama hatua ambayo itawezekana kuchukuliwa moja baada ya mwingine, wale ambao wanashiriki visa hivi vya kuua wazee.
Nataka tushirikiana na ninyi vijana ambao ni wale wanahusika na mambo ya mauaji ya wazee na viongozi wa Kilifi. Badala ya sisi kuja hapa kwa ofisi yangu, tuende tufanye kampeni kwa kila wilaya ambao wazee wanawawa kabisa.
There has been growing fear in Kilifi that the number of the aged could decline if drastic measures are not taken. Police reports indicate that at least 120 Kaya elders are murdered every year.
That's a very serious statistic. Apparently, being old and grey-haired in parts like Kilifi and also Kisii can be hazardous to your life. So we hope something will be done about that there. But that's where we wind it up tonight. Thank you so much for watching KTN Weekend Prime. We'll see you again tomorrow. My name is Yvonne Okwara. Good night.